there's a little bit of a controversy that I'm going to get in with you, so watch out. But we'll talk.
All right, I'm here.
It's kind of blurry.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mac and Main show here on Zoom. This is like our third or fourth Zoom call right now?
Yeah.
So we are here with Fourth and Goal, Underground Sports Philadelphia, Patrick Pitts. He is here to break down the upcoming NFL draft for y'all. Pat, how's life been since we last talked to you?
It's been staying inside in the Pitts cave, watching endless amounts of football, playing endless amounts of sports, thanks to the Xbox One. And I've even got to the point where, since there's absolutely zero sports to write about, I thought, why not write about my own created players? And I gave them a little backstory, and I'm going to do a little short story series for that. So I'm literally getting to the point where, if sports don't come back soon, I'm probably going to just create my own league in my head and just see what happens from there, because there's nothing else to talk about that's relevant to me that does not cause a state of hysteria with the masses. So other than that, I've been great. Everything's great. I got my iced tea here. My mom went to the store the other day and stocked the house so we don't have to leave.
Did you watch any of the Jordan documentary last night?
Yeah, so I watched the first episode. Yep, it's going to be incredible. I'll probably watch the second one later on tonight. And it's just, dude, that documentary is so good already. I cannot wait for the other 9 episodes. Like, that is the best thing that ESPN could have possibly have done during this time.
I'm getting ready for the Patriots one to come out here in like 20 more years.
Yeah, that'll be in like 2035, 2040.
Because
Because that's a lot to talk about.
I think ESPN said they're going to be releasing, I think it's like 3 more actually. Hold on. I have it here. They're doing one on Sosa and McGuire, which is going to be absolutely wild. They have another one coming up, Lance Armstrong. I remember I watched an interview of him and Mike Tirico, and it's going to be like the whole downfalling of Lance Armstrong. What? You don't like it?
Dude, I think Lance Armstrong, I think he and the whole his steroid thing is the most overrated sports scandal ever.
I mean, all right, but I think the reason why it's so popular is because it was one of the first major ones that we've seen.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
I don't know.
It's very overblown. I think that it's overblown because, he kind of like tarnished his own brand with it. The Livestrong brand was kind of built on the fact that Lance Armstrong did it on his own, and we found out, it turns out he was.
But my thing is that he just rode a bike. Like, he just biked. Yeah, obviously he took steroids and stuff, and you can't do that when you're in any sort of league. Doesn't matter if it's cycling or basketball, football, whatever. But, like, my big thing is that, like, it's such a huge ordeal, and it's not – like, he just wrote – I don't know. I think he's just so overrated. I think that whole thing, that's a whole other topic for another day.
So you think because the Sosa McGuire thing is tied to baseball and it's one of the 4 big sports that it kind of has a little more brevity?
I think that when it comes to the steroid era in any type of sport, the big 4 is where it's most – I don't want to say prevalent, but it's more it should be looked at more in depth because there's more to it. I mean, by taking an illegal substance like anabolic steroids, it gives you that competitive edge in the 4 major, in my opinion. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and think and let you guys think that I'm some cycling expert. I'm not, but like, it's all about endurance, really, for me when it comes to cycling. So, like, I mean, steroids or not, like, he still was I don't know. It's a whole – I just think it's so overblown. Like, he took steroids, whatever. Like, he should be punished for it, what he was. But, like, the overall story of it's probably just because of the whole Livestrong brand that he has. So, I mean, if it's just because of that, then, whatever.
Well,
My
hey,
big
you know
thing
what?
is-
It's all
Well,
right because we didn't bring you here to talk cycling. We are here to talk about the NFL
Thank
draft.
God.
Yeah, I mean, like,
And
Thank God.
I think that, like, my saying is that if it was easy, everybody could do it. And
Oh,
long
I'm not gonna
story
sit here and
short,
say that I am a cycler. Yeah, I'm not gonna
oh
say
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm not
I'm
saying.
just saying
I'm
that,
just
like,
saying.
when
Well,
it
like, I
comes
mean,
to
like,
all other.
when you look at Tom Brady, a guy that gets paid to throw a ball, he gets paid $50 million to do that. I can throw a ball. He can just do it better than I can. So he's the guy that gets the big bucks. But
Yeah,
anyway,
Exactly.
we're here to talk NFL football. Happy Patriots Day to both you guys. We are so excited to be coming to you guys on a day in which the Red Sox would start their game at 11:05 in the morning. He's got his Patriots hat. Pat, we're going to get your thoughts on the new Patriots uniforms at the end of the show. But as
Right.
Steve mentioned, you are here to talk the NFL draft, which is coming up very shortly here. The Cincinnati Bengals have the 1 pick. The Washington Redskins have the 2 pick. And then our Patriots don't pick until the mid-20s. Steve's Giants have the 4th pick. So kind of break it down for us. What are we expecting to see here? Surprises, surefire home run picks that we know are going to succeed in the NFL. Overall, this draft class, where does it rank in terms of the recent draft classes that we have had?
I mean, this draft class has the potential to have, I would say, 4 all-stars, Pro Bowlers, maybe even up at 1 or 2 potential Hall of Famers with the talent already. And luckily for the Cincinnati Bengals, they have the most mortal luck number 1 pick ever. You cannot screw this up. And when I did my research for our draft preview on 4th and Goal, I did a little bit of research on the Bengals draft history because I obviously knew that they've had their woes. And I'm like, all right, I need to know more about this. So the past 3 times they've had the number 1 overall pick, they picked Dan Wilkinson, Kajana Carter, and Carson Palmer. Now, we all know about Kajana Carter being the probably top 10 biggest bust in NFL history, only playing 14 games under the Cincinnati Bengals. Dan Wilkinson did not have a bad career. It started out a little rocky with a little 11-day holdout period. So, but he still ended up being a pretty good player for them and whatnot. But, I mean, they didn't hit a home run with him. I think they hit a home run with Carson Palmer, and they're going to do the same thing with Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow is ready for the NFL. We saw it last season with him in LSU. He just is a winner. He has that winner's mentality. And I think that everyone was saying that he's not, the Bengals shouldn't draft him because he doesn't want to play there. He even said he wants to go play for Cincinnati, a team that was just a couple hours down the road from him. And it's one thing where it's like, all right, well, he's going to go to a kind of a crap team. I don't think so in this case. The Bengals really made some moves in the offseason to kind of get him to be excited. They franchise tag AJ Green, which no one thought that he was going to do. I think they really upgraded their offensive line as well. And then you have Tyler Boyd, John Ross, Joe Mixon at running back too. I mean, that's a really good situation for a rookie quarterback to go into. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that they're going to win the AFC North, but I mean, if he is as ready as everyone is predicting him to be in the NFL, I think this is a great place for him. And transitioning into the 2nd pick, Chase Young, same position. I mean, this guy, Ron Rivera, comes into the Redskins organization and wants to, establish an identity. And on Ron Rivera's teams, his identity was smash mouth football on defense. And Chase Young could not be going to a better kind of situation. I mean, granted, yeah, it's the Redskins and their whole front office woes, but they are trying to revamp themselves and be a contender again, and getting Chase Young is just another step in that direction.
So obviously, being a New England-based show, the listeners, the fans, they all want to hear about the big 3 teams that are up here in the Northeast: the Giants, Jets, and Pats. Being that you're a Pats fan, we'll start there first. What do each of these 3 teams need in the first round? I know there's been a lot of talk about the Giants going offensive line or defensive line. The Jets need a little bit more wide receiver help to help out Sam Darnold. The Pats with Tom Brady departing, we don't really know where they're going. They've talked about Brian Hoyer starting. They've talked about Jarrett Stidham starting. They might even go for a quarterback late. What do all three of these teams need? Break it all down for us. What do you have on the Giants, Jets, and Pats?
So my big thing, I'll start with the Giants just because they do have a top 5 pick. Everyone, and this is just from my standpoint, you need to draft Isaiah Simmons. I know that the Giants need a lot of help on the offensive line to protect Danny Franchise. So getting a guy like Jedrick Wells or Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa would be a really solid draft pick. I mean, if you can get a good offensive lineman in the first round, you're already getting yourself on base pretty well. But Isaiah Simmons could really be that next generational defensive player for the Giants. I mean, Landon Collins is gone. He's off to Washington. And since, you don't really have that guy anymore, and Isaiah Simmons, we talked about on my show, is that he's a guy who can play any position. He can play any position on defense. He lined up at every position more than at least 5 times last season for Clemson and did really well. He was an excellent pass rusher. He played great in pass coverage, and he got a lot of interceptions and sacks. I mean, that's a guy that the Giants really need to kickstart them and really balance their team to make them that playoff contender again. So if they took an offensive lineman, I would say, you know what, good move. I'm not, makes sense. But if they take Isaiah Simmons, they're really knocking it out of the park. And whoever gets Isaiah Simmons, I've seen a lot of mock drafts from analysts having him go all the way to the Panthers. I don't think that would be possible, but I really think that they should take Isaiah Simmons. When it comes to the Jets, because they're picking at 11, again, they need an offensive line. They need an offensive lineman to help them out, and taking one of those guys as well. They really need that. Granted, they also need a wide receiver. So, I mean, taking Jerry Jeudy, taking CeeDee Lamb, I think that'd be really good because you get rid of Robbie Anderson at the end of the year this year, at the start of the offseason. Yes, you do sign my dude, my guy, Brashad Perryman, who I think is going to have a real breakout year this year just because of how well he played last season. So you got that expectation. You kind of saw what he can do when he's healthy. So if you get him with a young quarterback like Sam Darnold, I think he can make some noise. But you need talent immediately, and you need to protect him. So I would say they should probably take a guy like Tristan Wirfs or even Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. I think that'd be a great move as well. And then when it comes to the Patriots, listen, I have a bold prediction for you guys here, and I said this to end the show last episode. I see the Patriots trading their pick to the Lions and picking 3rd, trading away Stephon Gilmore to get that pick, and they would take Tua.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. You're all shocked. You're all shocked.
Jack,
Yeah.
please get this in writing, please.
Whoa.
This is in the show logs.
I'm just here sipping my tea. I'm just here sipping my iced tea.
Oh.
New England cannot get rid of their top 2 players on their team in the same offseason. I'm sorry. You can't.
It'd be a hell of a rebrand.
Wow.
Holy I mean, we're talking you're losing the greatest quarterback of all time, the guy that is the face of your franchise's history, and then you're losing the reigning defensive MVP just to get, Tua? A guy who's coming off hip surgery? A dislocated hip? The Bo Jackson injury?
I'm just saying. Ben posed the question to me when we were talking on Xbox, and I really thought about it for a couple of days. I was like, that would be crazy. And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, it makes sense. I mean, I don't think Steve has just walked away.
I think he's getting his lamp. I should go get my Stephon Gilmore jersey out of my closet.
Oh,
I'm just saying. I'm here for. This is why, and I'm not just saying it to be, the next guy with a hot take. No, it makes sense when you really think about it. I mean, listen, the Patriots just lost Tom Brady. So whether they roll out with Stidham or they draft a guy this year, it's not going to be the same team. They need a lot of help not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they still haven't reached an agreement with the guy that they supposedly franchise tagged in Joe Tunney. So, I mean, that there's a lot of issues there. So when you have a lot of issues, there's no way, in this, you can kind of not sacrifice a year in a sense, but you can make these moves like that. And Bill Belichick does have a great relationship with Nick Saban. Saban probably has some insight. That's kind of very outlandish. So I just threw that in for like a bold predictions. But my, real analysis here of what I think will 95% happen is that the Patriots will either draft Xavier McKinney, the safety, because they do need help on the defensive side of the ball. McCourty's getting a little older, even though he did sign that deal. And then I think that they will either draft Love or even Jalen Hurts because of what I said, that Nick Saban connection. And I think Jalen Hurts will really fit into that system as well, kind of with the rebranding of the Patriots, just kind of go for it. Either him or get Jake Fromm as well. So for the first time in a while, the Patriots have really had some options at the draft. That's not just insert random O-tackle at this round or whatnot. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do.
Well, until the Jets have a winning season, Steve and I are in disbelief right now. Steve, can you agree?
Well, I had a few questions about the quarterbacks, and now that you kind of said that, I kind of just blew all the questions out of the water. So now I'm kind of just like taken aback.
Well, hang on one sec because there is no secret New England needs to fix their quarterback problem right now. It's something that we thought we would never have to utter until Tom Brady retired, but unfortunately he left in free agency. So New England has to fix their quarterback problem. That hurts to say, honestly. And then I think for the third straight year, the Giants are under a very, very strong microscope in terms of the pick that they make, because they've had a top 8 pick for the past 3 years. They've had the number 2 pick, the number 8 pick, and this year they got the 4 pick. So they got Saquon, then they got the guy to throw the ball in Daniel Jones, and now they're at the 3 pick. They were like a loss away. They were 1 loss away, right, Steve, from having the 2 pick? Mm-hmm. But they won the game in overtime or something like that. They dropped down to the 4 pick, but that means that they sacrificed taking Chase Young at 2. So 2 questions here, Pat, your opinion. One, we know that Brian Hoyer is not the answer to the quarterback controversy in New England. And so what do you think it's more realistic that they run with Jarrett Stidham, or that they run with trying to find a quarterback late in the draft? And then 2, for the Giants, do we see a possibility of a trade up to try to move up and get Chase Young?
I'll start with your question about the Patriots. I have no problem with Jarrett Stidham starting this year for the Patriots. It may seem it with my takes and my predictions, but if they do decide to roll out Jarrett Stidham, I will not be upset in any sort of fashion, because I think you need to start young. You need to start with a new guy. You need to start with someone who's hungry and ready to become an NFL starting quarterback. From my own fan perspective, I want to see them get a big name. You had the biggest name in football for almost 20 years under center for you. Why don't you just roll with that hot hand and get the next big name of the NFL draft and make this guy the new face of New England in a sense? I like Love from what I've been reading about my reports that the Patriots are also very high on Justin Love as well. I could see them trading up as well to get Herbert. I think other than Tua, he is probably the best quarterback in the draft with his stature and his ability to throw the ball and his presence in the pocket. But I really don't know what's going to happen. I would love to say, yeah, they're going to do X, Y, and Z, but it's the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick doesn't really give us much to work with as fans to talk about. So it'll be very interesting to see. And to go off of the Giants, I really think that they missed out with a Chase Young. I really think by winning that game, crazy to say, but they lost out on a guy that could benefit their defense a lot. But the flip side of that coin is that they didn't really miss out so much, because you have the ability to draft Isaiah Simmons, who you could literally put at any position on the defensive side of the ball, and he will have some sort of success. So it's really like a good problem to have if you're the Giants, is that, we're not going to get Chase Young, but then, on the flip side, we have a guy who could play every position, like a Brock Holt of the NFL here. Like, I mean, it's not a bad problem to have, and I can't, Giants fans, I'm assuring you that whatever pick that Gettleman makes will not be a bad one. Granted, he probably will screw this up somehow, but I really think that the Giants did not miss out a ton, and that it's going to work out in their favor.
So, since we're on the topic mostly of quarterbacks and edge rushers, I'll start from there. So, obviously, your Pats take kind of blew me out of the water, because I'm still shook by that, to the point that I may have to
Gilmore jersey. Hang on one second.
I may have to go get a beer in a minute. But we'll start with the quarterbacks. So, I have had a lot of internal conflict looking at the draft charts. I've been talking to friends, people who are really close to the game of football, people who go to college with some of these quarterbacks, who the arguments have been made for Jalen Hurts, the arguments have been made for Joe Burrow, for Tua. But the one name that I keep on seeing that I think might be the most composed and possibly the best quarterback behind Joe Burrow in the draft is Jake Fromm. Now, I've watched Jake Fromm for the last 2 years. I watched him in the National Championship. I watched him in the SEC Championship twice. And rest in peace to Gilmore jersey. But
yeah, Jack, you're going to need a new Lions one
Yeah.
in about a couple weeks.
In Mel Kiper's most recent mock draft, he doesn't even have Jake Fromm going in the first round. He has Jordan Love, Tua, Burrow, and all departing. But I think Jake Fromm is one of the most talented quarterbacks. Along with, even though he has his inaccuracies, Justin Herbert had a rock-solid year in the Pac-12. There's been debates that the Chargers might want to move up from their spot to go to 3, where you're saying the Pats would possibly go. But is there an opportunity for the Chargers to possibly move up to 3? I know they've been dead set on Justin Herbert or Tua, and with the fact that Miami's sitting at 5 and is probably poised to take Tua, considering the whole tank for Tua movement, could we possibly see the Chargers fitting in before the Pats do on a trade with Detroit?
Yeah, Detroit has even outwardly said, General Manager Bob Quinn has said that they are really open to trading that 3rd pick, because it's a great situation for them. The guy they want is a top 10 guy. He's not a top 5 guy. So they can go down to the 6th pick and still get Okudah. And I, as being a Lions loyalist, I want them to take Isaiah Simmons. I think that they should take Isaiah Simmons, because he could be more beneficial to them on all aspects of on defense, compared to Okudah, who's really just there for pass coverage. However, in more of my digging and diving and reading and watching whatnot, the Lions were terrible against the pass last year. They were so bad that they ranked the worst pass defense in the NFL, allowing over 4,400 yards. It was the most out of any team in the NFL. So I think they know that, obviously, and they need to fix that, especially with Darius Slay going to Philly. And the good news with that is they're not just going to sign Okudah, or draft Okudah. They signed DeJuan Harmon. They got Desmond Trufant, he didn't have a good year in Atlanta, but then again, no player in Atlanta had a good year last year. So, and then you get Jamie Collins from the Pats, who is he's a specialty in pass coverage. So, and then you still have Trey Flowers. So you're making a little AAA Patriots in Detroit. Just get Okudah and ride with that. And if a team comes to you and says, listen, we want the 3 pick because we want this quarterback, you go to this position, you're going to get Okudah. They're going to go with that, and they're probably going to, trade. They're going to probably do that trade. So I expect the Lions to trade that pick at some point. I just know that they're going to take Okudah, whether it's at the 3 pick, 6 pick, or even 12 pick.
So and also not to mention if they end up trading back to whether it be the Chargers or further, they're going to be able to get probably another additional pick or a possible player that the team might look for a salary dump. So the Lions have a good deal there. But focusing in on the Chargers with their pursuit for a quarterback, do you see them possibly trading up to 3? And if so, would they go 2 or with Herbert?
The Chargers, here's the thing, and I can't – this is another absolute just nonsense take that I saw on the NFL Network. So I see the Chargers trading up. I really do. I think they're going to do whatever they can to get that quarterback and get their franchise guy. But I'm going to go into my notes here because I was listening to one of my favorite analysts on the NFL Network in Peter Schrager, and he had the radio announcer for the Chargers on, and he actually gave a very interesting take about what the Chargers should do because do you know who the Chargers quarterback is if they do not draft a Herbert or Tua?
Blake Bortles? No, that's the Rams.
The last Chargers
it's Tyrod Taylor.
That was my second guess.
So Tyrod Taylor has had some experience being a starting NFL quarterback with the Bills and then a little bit with the Browns before the Baker touchdown maker. You took the Bills to the playoffs, correct? You did not take the Browns. So this was what I saw, and when he said this, it really got me going into what I think would be probably the most absurd draft day move. So you have the Chargers at the 6th pick, okay? Say they do decide to go and they're going to stick their guns with Tyrod Taylor. He's turning 30 this year. He's kind of, he's on the out in a sense of potential. His ceiling is getting lower and lower by the year. And let's say they draft Isaiah Simmons if it falls to him. Say the Giants do take that offensive lineman. Well, if the Giants take the offensive lineman, the Dolphins are going to take a quarterback. So then that leaves the Chargers sitting at 6, making a very interesting decision. That interesting decision would be that they take Isaiah Simmons and pair him with a defense with these guys that I'm about to list. Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Derwin James, Chris Harris, who they just got from the Broncos, Casey Hayward, and then the radio announcer also said that he is really high on this guy, Drew Tranquill, at linebacker. So if you pair Isaiah Simmons with those guys in that defense, that might be a top 3 defense in the league come next year. And the other side of the coin of that is, why would they do that? Well, who are they play in the same division as the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. Who can stop that offensive powerhouse that is the Kansas City Chiefs? Well, if you pair Isaiah Simmons with that defense, I mean, Pat Mahomes didn't throw for more than 150 yards against the Chargers last season, and that was his probably 2 worst games of the year. I mean, yeah, if you go with that thought process during the draft, now you're looking at Tyrod Taylor being like a Trent Dilfer, game managing quarterback who gets you to the Super Bowl based on your defense, and now you look like the 2000 Ravens. So it's really interesting to see what they could do here. And if they make that move, that would be something out of Madden and something that would be kind of really revolutionary. And if that was to happen, I would really tip my cap to the I'm saying San Diego Chargers. I refuse to call them Los Angeles.
So Pat, before we had you on today, Steve mentioned something to me that just kind of didn't hit my ear very right. He said Jake Fromm is the best quarterback in this draft.
I'm gonna ride it.
I would go top 3, or top 5 at least. I mean, what Herbert did last season is incredible. To be brutally honest with you, I think he had a great season in the Pac-12 at this point, whatever conference they are. He had a great season with them. Tua, obviously, there's a lot of concern with his injury, but I really think this 23-19 virus going around right now is going to be in his favor because now he has more time to heal and more time to get that rehab and, get it healthy. With that being said, I think Jake Fromm is a NFL quarterback waiting to happen. I really think he has what it takes. He's already been to a national championship, so he knows what it's like to play on a big stage. He played at Georgia, a great program. And if they don't take Jordan Love, the Patriots, or they don't do that absurd, wacky trade that I just mentioned that had you guys on the floor, I could see them taking Jake Fromm because then you get Xavier McKinney in the first round and Jake Fromm's falling and in drafts, take him in the second instead of Hurts. Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I think that wouldn't be a bad move either. So there's a lot of options the Patriots can do here that would not be bad and actually be beneficial for them. So I'm just excited to see what could happen. I do agree with that take, though. I wouldn't say he's the best, but I would definitely say he's top 5.
So
because he's not better than Joe Burrow.
Hold on,
Joey
hold
Buckets.
On, hold on. Jack's mixing my words up. I said Jake Fromm could arguably be better with shelf life than Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. He's a lot of poise. Think about it. These are 2 SEC quarterbacks. First of all, my whole point with the idea that SEC quarterbacks don't work in the NFL, which is true, considering in the last 10 to 15 years, possibly even 20 years, outside of Eli Manning, Cam Newton, Matt Stafford, and I think two other players, all SEC quarterbacks fail. You look at Zach Mettenberger, AJ McCarron, Aaron Murray, and the list goes on. My whole point is that Jake Fromm, I feel, has more – I don't want to say he's had more experience than Joe Burrow has because Joe Burrow's story is much like what Kyler Murray had and what Baker Mayfield had, where they didn't have the opportunity to start early on in their careers, transferred, and managed to find themselves. And like I love the fact that Joe Burrow had one of the best throwing seasons in SEC history. But my argument is with Jake Fromm is that under a 3-year system where he ran a run-heavy offense, where in the 3 years that he played, he had Evander Holyfield's son, I'm missing what his name is, as well as Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb, in a run-heavy, ground-pound offense in Georgia. He still managed to throw for, on average, 2,700 yards, which is pretty good considering the last quarterback to do that in Georgia was Matt Stafford. That was a long time ago. And he completed 64% of his passes, which is on par with Justin Herbert. My big thing is that Joe Burrow was great, but outside of this one season, he was just another SEC quarterback, in my opinion. Last year, no one really knew who he was. He was a good quarterback. I think it comes down to the system. And I've been saying this for a long time, is the system that you're in works. And if it works, you're a good player. Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron's system was incredible, as was Jake Fromm in the Georgia system. Again, I'm forgetting the head coach of Georgia. But the system matters, and I think if Joe Burrow goes to a team like Cleveland, it's going to come down to what are they doing in Cincinnati. Is it going to help Joe Burrow, or is it going to be something that just might not necessarily work? The system that you go into matters as a quarterback. That's my argument.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. My big thing is with Fromm is, that's why I'm more likely agreeing with you in this sense. But I think that Burrow will have a good year. I'm not going to predict if he'll win Rookie of the Year yet because the NFL and college football are 2 completely styles of football. My biggest concern with Jake Fromm is that, there has not been a lot of talk around him anymore because he's got overshadowed by Burrow, by Herbert, by Tua, even by Jalen Hurts. So, people are kind of sleeping on him, and people that continue to sleep on him, that's transfer over into the NFL with the amount of star power that they have at the quarterback position. I think that Jake Fromm is a solid quarterback for any franchise to start. But you're right. He has to go into a system where it's the kind of the pieces are already there, and he just kind of fits in the next Tetris piece. He just fits in that puzzle really well. He's not going to revolutionize anything. He's not going to be that guy who, is going to steal the show. but he's going to be a good quarterback that will win you games. And when you mentioning SEC quarterbacks, the only one that came to mind that's really been successful is Eli Manning, and he only won 2 Super Bowls because his defense got him there, and one lucky helmet catch that is the luckiest play in NFL history. And anytime
Like he's playing
someone
sports.
says, yeah, I was watching that with the Lady Pits a couple of weeks ago. We were I watched it over, and when I think about it, it's I'm not, it's a whole other argument. I'm not going to get into it. But the point is, these SEC quarterbacks have so much hype coming out of college, and they don't really do much. And that's my biggest thing is that, you look at Stafford, Steve. You just said that Stafford would be the next great that you could probably see. Stafford's only been to 1 Pro Bowl. Stafford's only been to 2 playoffs. Granted, he was injured, and with Calvin Johnson leaving.
Yeah, throwing out
the
one
guy,
of Calvin Johnson.
And he has to, and then they have no run game to support him. Now you do with a running back and Kerryon Johnson, and they're building a team there. So I'm actually very interested to see what they do there. But yeah, Jake Fromm needs to go into a system that's really kind of ready to go, and that's why I think him falling is actually going to be in his favor. I mean, if he goes into the Patriots system, well, the pieces are low key already there. You have Sony Michel. You already played together. You have N'Keal Harry, and that's about, you have the weapons there. The Patriots, Jacoby Myers, I want to say, would be a good piece, but he's got to learn how to run a route first. So I think it'd be a good system, though, and he learns under Belichick, who has been just an unbelievable mastermind, and he can learn that playbook. He'll be fine. But I want star power. I want the guy who's hot right now. I want the guy who's riding high. And I don't agree with that move about trading the 3rd pick to get Tua. If you trade the 3rd pick and get Herbert, now we're talking. Now that's a good move in my opinion, because I think Herbert's ready. I think he'd fit in well in New England, and he's a pocket presence. He's not this run and gun type quarterback that we've seen with Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, even a little bit of Pat Mahomes and Cam Newton. I really think that you get Herbert, and I think the Patriots, really improve and will benefit from that.
So speaking, sorry, Jack,
Yeah. I think that we're gonna move on to our next segment here.
Oh, hold on. I have one last question. Speaking on mobile quarterbacks, and we brought him up earlier, Jalen Hurts. With an air raid offense at Oklahoma that was very predicated on if you don't have your man deep, run the football because you could do it. They did it with Baker Mayfield 2 years ago. They did it last year with Kyler Murray. 2 years ago, Kyler Murray. 3 years ago, Baker Mayfield. And now they have Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be able to do much unless, again, he enters a system that will predicate the offense around him being able to run the ball. But do you think Jalen Hurts has a good opportunity to be a threat in the league, or are we kind of just whiffing on him?
No, the way the league's going right now, this is a mobile quarterback game. I mean, the quarterbacks are basically the running backs, essentially. Lamar Jackson winning MVP last year kind of solidified that, and he was the best player in the league last year, clearly. But I see this trend kind of fading away, and we're going to see Lamar Jackson fade unless he becomes more of a pocket presence. And as well as Kyler Murray, I think Kyler Murray is in a great situation right now where, in my opinion, is probably my vote to win MVP, not only because he is that type of running back. He's that type of quarterback that can run the ball like Lamar Jackson, but he also has a great arm too. He throws a lot better than Lamar Jackson. He has a better pass, better touch on the ball, better arm talent, as the analysts are saying. So what he's going to do is he's going to learn how to balance that. And I think that Jalen Hurts coming into the league, and why I want him to go to the Patriots is because of what you've said. The Oklahoma ran that run and gun. If you ain't open downfield, get on your horse. And what Bill Belichick can do is take that, use it, because we've never seen someone who can scramble. And the way the league's going right now, a lot of those pockets are really getting smaller and smaller as the edge rushers and defensive lines get better. And you need a guy who can either escape the pocket with his throwing ability or his feet. And I think that if you get a guy like Hurts or, someone like that, you can really do something with it and make him into that pocket passer who can scramble, not a West Coast type quarterback.
All right, Pat. So before we move on to our last segment, do you have time to stick around for our last segment, by the way?
I am free as a bird, Jack.
Perfect. So before we take a break and we head on to our next segment, the New England Patriots just released their first major uniform change in like 20 years, more than that. They have been rocking the same. This is what they were rocking: the blue with the gray stripe.
Oh, way to bring
letters.
it back. Way to bring it back.
I just had it right here.
You just had it handy. No, it's not because okay.
And then they will be switching to the Color Rush jerseys for the 2020 season, introducing brand new whites to go along with it. So I'm a fan of these. A lot of people, when they were first rolled out as Color Rush jerseys in like 2016, a lot of people weren't fans of them. I really like them. I think that the red stripes kind of they jive really well with the navy, and the lettering is real nice on it. The only other change is that they're going to wear blue pants with all their uniforms instead of rolling with grays for their homes. So Pat, we've seen now what the Patriots are like the third team this year so far to change their
fifth.
They're the fourth team.
Well, okay, so it was Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and then the Browns did, and now New England. And we're still waiting on the Rams.
Okay, everyone says the Colts.
On the Rams.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the Rams because they changed their logo to be Ron Burgundy's news station's logo. But everyone's saying the Colts changed their uniforms. Bro, they added black. Like, that's it. They didn't change their uniforms.
I didn't even hear about that. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. And and at this point, it's not even official change. They put it out. It's still like waiting to be heard. I don't know. Because I got bashed on Twitter for it because I said that the Falcons. It's the Browns. Browns were the third team to unveil a new jersey, and I had a troll come up, respond to me and say, actually, the Colts did. It's like, all right, well, where is it? They only added black. Show me the New Jersey, and he couldn't do it. So,
the Colts, sorry to cut you off here. The Colts are funny because I read this like yesterday. They're currently in a court case against a high school team from Indianapolis because the Colts' biggest thing was they changed their logo, not their jerseys necessarily, but apparently a high school is like suing the Colts for like taking their logo. Meanwhile, it's usually
like
always
the horseshoe.
No, it's they changed it around a little bit. I haven't seen it because it currently isn't like declared because it's in court, so they haven't like unveiled it and fully made it official and trademarked it. But apparently, like they're in some lawsuit with a high school about their logo because apparently they stole it from them. Something crazy.
That's bizarre. But anyway, Pat, the Patriots rolled out they're just the new road uniforms because we've seen the Color Rush ones before. What are we thinking? They're getting rid of the traditional blue stripe. They're it feels like a lot of teams are moving toward these pastel color uniforms that are one, maybe two colors, and then just kind of keeping it that.
I just hate it. I really do. I think it's stupid.
Really?
I think it looks terrible. I think it is a bad look for them, and it's kind of a signal that we're going to have some bad years to come. It literally looks like I went on NFL 2K5 and wanted to make my own uniform, and my, we're going to say, unartistic ability, because I can barely draw a stick figure. I created that jersey, and it's the same as what we've seen before. You already said it. I mean, every team's conforming to this. It's the same type of jersey. I wanted a little bit of change. I wanted some red because we are the Patriots. Pat Patriot, get him back in the mix. Get a logo change in there.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone was looking for that.
Yeah, and Brady's gone, so it's like, all right, makes sense. Let's kind of revamp and rebrand here. And they didn't. They did a rebrand. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like when you're at work, and it's like, all right, we're implementing a new policy, and it's like a new cell phone policy. And it's just something like that where they had it in place, but they're just kind of like, all right, we're going to enforce it. Like, they just enforced their new rebrand with the Color Rush jerseys. It's lazy. It's terrible. I think that the Patriots, that's not who they are with their jerseys. And it's just terrible. I mean, bring back the old 90s look, to be honest with you. They said, something old, something blue. Yeah, something old from what, 2017? That's not old. No, like get over it. I'm so upset. Like I woke up to that this morning, and I was just so upset. Like really, this is it. That was a one way to wake up to that. I was just so annoyed, and even Dickie Pitts, Papa Pitts, even was like, yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they would run the Pat the Patriot helmets, and they're still rolling with the other logo.
I would have loved the return of the old AFL like red uniforms they had.
Oh, that would have been beautiful. That would have been beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, those are so sleek.
Also, like sorry, Pat, go ahead.
No, you go.
Total side grievance here. I hate the fact that teams are switching over to their color rush jerseys as their like primary. I hate like the brown with the Browns with the all brown uniform. Or I know
don't get me started on the Browns uniform change. Oh my Lord, you thought my take on the Patriots was lazy? Oh,
they changed. I looked at it. They changed a stripe. That's all they did. They changed a stripe.
That's like me saying, yeah, I'm changing my diet, but in fact, I don't eat another meal. I just replace I go 2 meals a day, and then one of my meals is still Burger King. Like that's what the Browns did. They literally just did a move like that where it's not a change. It's just like
they just made this one white. Yeah, they just made this one white.
Well, hold on, wait. Yeah, they made that white, and I'm pretty sure that they changed the pants stripe. What like one little like. It's embarrassing. It's ridiculous, but like. Well, like for the Pats, why wouldn't you wear white pants with your blue home unis? I feel like it's almost like how baseball. You wear white as your primary, you wear gray as your road, or your alternate would be the blue, and also like in the NHL, your like for the Rangers, your blue is your home, your white's your road. You wear the white for the road, the blue for the home, but have the white pants for both. The blue
white pants are clean. It's a good look. It's a good look for sports teams.
The
I'm
white
watching
pants are clean.
Highlights of the Super Bowl right now with the Colts and Saints. And the Colts got the white pants with the blue look. It just looks clean.
Gorgeous.
It looks official. And I just hate everything that's going.
It's like
the Falcons. Like everyone bashes the Falcons for being the longest yard lookalikes. But I mean
I thought they did a great
job.
Still
better.
Yeah,
it's still better than anything.
Their whites are crisp. Their whites are crisp. Love the Falcons' New Jerseys.
The Falcons.
We gotta take a short break. When we come back, we are going to be breaking down. We're going to introduce a new segment that we're going to be rolling with here every single week until we can get some sports back up and rolling. You are watching and listening to the Mac and Main Show. Welcome back to the Mac and Main Show, brought to you by Zoom, not sponsored. Jack Main, Steve McAvoy, Pat Pitts, talking NFL draft, which is upcoming later this week. Steve's got a couple more questions before we break down our next segment that we will be running for the next few weeks. So, Steve, take it away.
A quick little thing around the league. So, in the first half, we talked about quarterbacks, talked a lot about Isaiah Simmons and what's really going to happen in those top 5 picks. But I kind of want to see, Pat, your take on a few other things. First of all, I want to start off with the wide receivers because there's been a huge debate between who really is the perennial number one. People are saying CeeDee Lamb will fall off the board first. Some say Jerry Jeudy. Some say Henry Ruggs. And then others say, I believe it's just Justin Jefferson out of LSU. Who do you think is the real number one wide receiver, and where do you think they'll fall?
I think the real number one, what's going to happen is they're going to go Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to be the first one off the board. Mm-hmm. It's going to go Jeudy, Lamb, then Ruggs, the top 3 wide receivers off my board. I really think that Jerry Jeudy's the real deal. I mean, when you play at Alabama, you have that prestige with you wherever you go, and the name alone will get you a little bit higher than if you go to like an Oklahoma or a Texas. It's just that name alone will get you there. And I think Judy's ready as well. It really, for me, it goes Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb are 1A, 1B, and then Henry Ruggs at 3. So I see those 3 guys, the first 3 off the board.
So compounded question here. Last season, last draft, kind of the like what the hell happened here pick was Clelin Ferrell going to the Raiders way too soon. So Mel Kiper was interviewed the other day last week with his mock draft 4.0, and he was talking about edge rushers and how there aren't many great ones to come by, but the ones that are available in the first round are going to be really home run picks. Isaiah Simmons kind of leads that pack. Two things. One, do you think we're going to see another one of those wow picks? And if so, might it be an edge rush because people might tend to overpay for them in this instance? But who's your wow pick?
My wow pick, it's not really a wow like, wow, they're going to steal the show. I really think that we're going to have a wow pick like the Raiders a year ago. Like, where I see the Raiders doing exactly what the Raiders do, and that is just take a random receiver or random guy who's just fast. And I think that we're going to see a guy like that come off the board. You know, guy out of Kentucky, Lynn Bowden, wide receiver. He's, 13 touchdowns in 2019, and he was even used at quarterback a little bit. And he caught a couple passes as well, and he, all that. So I think he's someone that we could see some just out of nowhere. Ashton Davis, safety out of California, we could see him go a little higher than expected. And then our guy, one of our staff members, F-Tank Diesel, said that there will not be a running back out of the first round. I think that A.J. Dillon out of Boston College will be in the first round. I think we'll see a running back go in the first round, but it will be to a team like the Chiefs or Ravens.
So I just saw a report on my Facebook page that said the Giants are really high on Justin Herbert.
What?
And if they
get out of here.
I'm dead serious. Ian Rappaport actually was the one that said this, that the Giants are high on Justin Herbert. Do you think that that's a smokescreen, or do you think that that is a legit Dave Gentleman, comment?
Clickbait. Next article. That's what it is.
I don't know.
There's no way if they draft a quarterback, that's the most.
If they draft a quarterback, Steve, I would join you in storming MetLife.
All right, hold on.
First game.
When the Cardinals took Kyler Murray and said, "Screw you, Josh Rosen," I understand because Josh Rosen sucked ass. Daniel Jones didn't do bad. I don't understand why. Even if it is true, if you take Justin Herbert, what are you going to do? Trade Danny Dimes for a fourth-round pick? What's it going to do for you? Nothing. Anyways, final question for you, Pat, before we move on. So with the coronavirus, obviously we're here at No Sports, but I think the biggest thing that people are kind of missing is the fact that analysts like Adam Schefter are always kind of on top of the eight ball when it comes to, like, for example, the first overall pick. We all kind of know it's going to be Joe Burrow. But usually by now, with 3 or 4 days before the draft, it's kind of like, all right, Adam Schefter, we're kind of waiting for the tweet. Joe Burrow, number one. It's guaranteed. It's going to happen. The front office confirmed it. But we haven't really had that, and I think a lot of it is kind of due to the coronavirus. How do you think the gap is between the media and the NFL? Do you think people are going to be a lot more surprised by this draft because they don't necessarily know the moves that might happen, or the fact that people can't really be in these war rooms interviewing like right there in person, seeing like what's really going to happen? What do you think about that?
I'm gonna oppose that a little bit. I think we're gonna know a little bit more. Just how easy it is to get access to all these front office guys and all these guys in management. I mean, you know for a fact Schefter and Rappaport and all these guys have their phone numbers. It's not even close. It's easier to send a text to someone than it is to walk into a room and talk to them face to face. So you're going to see a lot more inside info. Yeah, it may not be, it'll be reported like, oh, that's not true. Like it was just texted or whatever. But like, we're going to see a lot more unfold than you would expect to see in an in-person draft.
You don't think because it's over text, it might not come off as genuine, or am I kind of just be kind of pushing off?
No, I think what happened is they'll answer the trusted guys like Rappaport and Schefter and maybe like one or two ESPN NFL Network guys, But like those guys will get the real info, so that's who they're gonna like really push to follow. But you know, your hometown reporters aren't gonna have that same buzz.
All right, here we go. Welcome everybody to the new Mac and Main Top 10 segment. So every show is going to have an analyst for the foreseeable future, and every analyst is going to get to break down a top 10 list that Steve and I come up with pre-show. So since Pat Pitch is our NFL insider, we are going to have him break down our lists of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, and then Steve will have and then Pat will have a chance to give us his top 10 quarterbacks of all time. So Steve and I, our lists are very similar. We text them both to Pat, so he has them both on his phone where he can look at them and then kind of rate them based on what he thinks. But he is our resident NFL expert. We're gonna give Pitch the reins here. So Steve, do you want to start by listing off your top 10 quarterbacks of all time?
Yeah. So
do you want to start from 10 to 1, or do you want to go from 1 to 10? I think we should go from 1 to 10 because the first 4 are going to be like pretty solid.
So I've been debating this a lot with a lot of friends of mine. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding who I have picked in certain places. So this is really why I wanted to get Pat on to kind of solidify these things. But my top 10 quarterbacks, and there was a little bit of change recently. So number 1 is Tom Brady. That kind of really isn't a debate on my end.
No, it's not a debate. Number
2 is Joe Montana. A lot of people have debated that Joe Montana, although he only threw for over 4,000 yards once, I believe it was. The guy won 3 straight Super Bowls. The guy is a absolute legend. He dominated the 80s. There's no 4?
No. Oh, he won 4 total. I don't know. Yeah. He did not win 4 straight. He won 2 straight. Did not win 3 straight.
Yeah, he didn't win 4 straight, but he won 4. He's 4-0 in Super Bowls.
Yeah, 4-0 Super Bowls. I'm almost positive he won 3 straight. I could be wrong. Fact check me at Elias Sports Bureau. But Joe Montana dominated the 80s, the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I have him slotting at number 2. Number 3 and 4, 2 guys in recent memory, Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. There's been a lot of people saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be up there. I think Aaron Rodgers, give him another Super Bowl ring, he might creep his way up there. But Drew Brees, one of the all-time great passers. And then just Peyton Manning, one of the all-time greatest field generals. The guy he'd shoot clock like nobody else. You'd play him in Madden, and he'd be calling plays at the 4-second mark, still audibling out and running hot routes. The guy knew exactly what he was doing. One of the best of all time. So those are my top 4. 5, 6, and 7 is where my list got fully shaken up. Originally, at 5 I had Johnny Unitas, 6 was Dan Marino, and 7 was Aaron Rodgers. I changed it up a little bit. I've essentially just pushed everyone up and back. So number 5 is Dan Marino, number 6 is Aaron Rodgers, and number 7 is Johnny Unitas. I had Unitas down as 5 originally because he revolutionized the quarterback position in a run-heavy league in the 1950s, where the argument that I've gotten from everybody, and Pat, I want your input on this, was that because it was the 1950s, if you put him in the modern-day NFL, he wouldn't thrive. We all know that because Aaron Donald didn't exist in the 1950s. But regardless, the man had one of the better arms in the league, wasn't as accurate, but he was a phenomenal quarterback. He's the reason why we had Joe Namath, and he's why we had Bart Starr, and we managed to get these great quarterbacks on from there. But I had United at 7. Number 5, Dan Marino, really was one of the first true deep passers of his time. The guy was the first pass-oriented quarterback, again, in a run-heavy league. Number 6 is Aaron Rodgers. He's still going. I think he can get higher, but I think number 6 is kind of where he stays put. Give him another ring. And then 8, 9, 10, I don't really want to talk any further, but it's Brett Favre, John Elway, and Roger Staubach. That rounds up my 10.
So my list contains the same exact group of quarterbacks. I got with a couple of tweaks here and there. So 1 Brady, and then I got 2 Peyton Manning, the field general, like you mentioned, single season touchdown holder, didn't turn the ball over when he was early in his career. And the only reason why he didn't win another ring is because he ran into one of the greatest defenses of all time in the Legion of Boom when he had the greatest offense that was ever put together on the field. 3, I've got Drew Brees because He is the all-time passing leader in the NFL. The guy's still doing it at age 41. In my mind, he has been gypped out of a couple MVPs. And had it not been for the historically terrible defense that he had in the early 2010s, he probably would have had a couple more MVPs, probably would have had a couple more Super Bowls as well. 4, I've got Joe Montana. I wanted to put him at 2 because he was like the Brady before Brady, but with the recent success that Drew Brees and Peyton Manning had late in their career, it unfortunately just bumped Joe Montana down. But 4-0 in the Super Bowl, he's still the top 4 guys on my list are all on a league of their own, far and away better than any of the other quarterbacks on here. 5, I had Brett Favre. One of the strongest arms, one of the smartest quarterbacks, turned the ball over a lot, but he also threw for the most touchdowns in his single career. So, Brett Favre, number 5 quarterback. Number
that
6,
man can rock some Wrangler jeans, by the way. Just saying.
He can. 6, I've got Johnny Unitas for the same reason Steve mentioned. 7, I've got John Elway because he basically won 2 Super Bowls with the Broncos by himself. 8, I've got Dan Marino. 9, Roger Staubach. And then 10, I have Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you can even put him on. I don't even think you can give him a top 6 position in my opinion. Pat's looking at me like he's got something stupid to say.
Oh, Jack. All right. It's not even close. I agree with Steve Moore. And this is why. First off, Jack, Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls, won 4-0 in the Super Bowl. That's the only stat that makes him number 2. You don't need to write a 5-paragraph essay with 3 details. That is the only detail you need to know, because the most important thing when it comes to not really any position, but when it comes to the quarterback position, are Super Bowl and playoff wins. And Joe Montana, it went 4-0 in Super Bowls, and he's absolutely number 2, not even close. I'm going to, and you. First off, this is just another thing too. You said the greatest offense ever assembled. It's the second greatest offense ever assembled. 2007 Patriots are the greatest offense ever assembled.
But in terms of like statistics and then like success, I mean, if not for running into the greatest defense of our time in Seattle, Peyton Manning is well on his way to his second ring instead of having to get carried they only had Von Miller 2 years later.
Well, they only had more stats because they're on the field longer, because the Patriots got off the field and then dominated on defense too.
Yeah, they were like last in the league in time with the ball or whatever.
It also didn't help that Peyton Manning played a Super Bowl in the cold, and at that point his arm was a noodle. So
but he still broke he broke the touchdown record with that noodle arm.
He played a Super Bowl in the cold.
He also played in Denver, bro.
Literally, yeah.
It was snowing the day of.
Okay, Tom Brady played in a divisional game his first year as a starter in the snow.
In the pounding snow.
And literally did what he could to win.
But Peyton Manning,
I hate the cold
late
weather.
30s.
Peyton Manning can't play in the cold. Ask Ty Law. He can't play in the cold. All right, so I'm going to agree with Steve's list. And then you also said John Elway won 2 Super Bowls by himself. That's a BS lie. Because if he won them by himself, he would have been 4-2 in Super Bowls, not 2-4. He lost. So if you look at the past Super Bowls before, he lost every time basically because he tried to do it himself. They get Terrell Davis and then Rod Smith. They finally have a complete offense to do so. So
that's fair. That's fair. But he will. That final drive, what was it in the later of the 2 Super Bowls that he won? He was like 37 years old. He's spinning around like a helicopter out there. You're telling me that he had the help that the rest of the quarterbacks on the list that I had behind him in? Like my phone.
You're leading me into my top 10, so that's why I appreciate you bringing that up. So I appreciate that. So here's my top 10, and I did it on the spot, and I think it's a pretty good list too. Obviously, we're all in consensus at the top 4. It goes Brady, Montana, Brees, and Manning. Brees is above Manning because Brees, I think, is a better, just stats-wise. He may not be that kind of Omaha field general like Peyton was, but, man, could Brees sling that ball downfield? And he's had great receivers to do so.
He still can.
And he still can. I mean, thank God he's got Michael Thomas. I mean, really.
Thank God he's got a top 10 O-line.
That's what I'm saying. They know how to protect him. At
And they just
5,
got
I have John
Jose
Elway.
Ooh. Okay.
I have John Elway at 5.
Okay,
Because, Jack, what you were saying.
All right. I'm just glad that we agree that he did win 2 Super Bowls basically by his own will.
No, he did not win 2 Super Bowls by himself. Why he's on 5 on my list is because of one reason. That man could run a 2-minute drill better than anyone I've ever seen who's not Tom Brady. 2 minutes left in the game. There's only 2 men or 3 men really that I want holding the ball. It's either Brady, Montana, or John Elway. I've watched so many clips at this point about John Elway going down the field in the 2-minute drill that it's absolutely insane. And the best part about it is it leads into my number 6 guy. The man just played football. He didn't go out there in the 2-minute drill and have a script of plays what he was going to do. He just read defenses very well. He didn't care for what names of defense, cover 3, cover 2, nickel, whatever. He just went out and said, all right, this defense is doing this. You're going to do X, Y, and Z. Boom, touchdown. Number 6 is my second favorite quarterback of all time, Brett Favre. Brett Favre, not even close. He also won only 1 Super Bowl against the Patriots. But that man could gunsling a ball better than anyone I've ever seen. He just went out there. He could throw 80 times in a game, and then next week he would tell either Holmgren or Mike McCarthy or whoever else, like, hey, keep getting some passing plays in here. It's like, Brett, you threw the ball 90 times last game. It's like, I know, but I'm good. Like, he did not like the run game, and that's why I don't think he had a lot of success in his Super Bowl runs or even playoff runs because he tried to do too much. But what he was doing was absolutely incredible. 7, I have Dan Marino because he revolutionized the game in the 80s. I mean, he's the first man to ever throw for 5,000 yards. Yes, he didn't win a Super Bowl, but his Super Bowl loss wasn't to a fluke. It was to Joe Montana in Super Bowl 19. So, I mean, if that's your only Super Bowl loss, and he played for some pretty bad Miami Dolphins teams at the end of Shula's run. So, I mean, if you put him on a different team, different system, I think he does win a couple more. Johnny Unitas, I love Johnny Unitas so much because he really, well, you know, what you said, he really revolutionized the passing game with the Duke, that new football that they introduced in the 50s. He was gunslinging it and really made it, popular and exciting to throw the ball in a run-heavy league. I mean, him and John Mackey, that was the OG quarterback to tight end dynamic duo. So I've seen clips. I mean, you watch the greatest game ever played, and it's just it's weird to see because it was also played at Yankee Stadium, but still, it's so fun to watch. 9, I have Aaron Rodgers. Now, this is where I have Aaron Rodgers because I think Aaron Rodgers gets too much credit. The man has won 1 Super Bowl. He's been to 2 and lost the other one. He has not had nearly any success in the playoffs. He gets bounced. The year that they were supposedly have the best Packers team in the last decade or so,
lost to the Cardinals, right?
They lost to the Giants. So, I mean, he can't do it in the playoffs, and but I mean, he's just an absolute. And this is just kind of my fantasy in me too. Is that if you draft on your fantasy team, you literally can just put a player in there and not have to worry about what he'll do the next week. And then 10, I went back and forth. I really just went back and forth on this because I could put so many people in here. But I have a little soft spot for him. I put Steve Young. I think Steve Young does not get a lot of credit because he followed Montana. He still won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, it's still incredible. And he played with Jerry Rice, so obviously that's going to help his cause out a little bit more. But, I mean, he grinded so much. I mean, you look at his old days before he got to the 49ers with the Buccaneers. They had no help. If anyone says to you that Steve Young was awful on the Buccaneers because of Steve Young, it was because, they were literally considered the worst. They were the Browns and Lions before it was even relevant. They went like 0-26, 0-30-something on a losing streak in 2 years. And he was, I think, part of those teams, at least somewhat. And that's not just because of him. And then you get him into a system with Bill Walsh and get him kind of the credit he deserves, get that monkey off his back. The famous clip of him at one of his first Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure. He does it. I mean, he was so good, and his ability to keep the play alive too. And what we were talking about earlier is he was a passing quarterback, absolutely. but he could scramble and he can get out of a mess and really keep a play alive and even rush for a touchdown or two. So, that's why I got him at 10.
I mean, this is the reason why I have Drew Brees as high as I have him, because he basically has had no help with the exception of the 2009 season. If he had a defense in 2011, 12, 13, he goes to the playoffs. If he doesn't get screwed out of a pass interference call in 2018, he's in another Super Bowl. So, we're talking about opportunities that were taken away from Drew Brees, not to mention he's the most accurate passer in the history of the league. He throws for – he's got MVP numbers. He throws for 30 touchdowns consistently every season. Doesn't throw too many picks unless his O-line decides to break down for a game. And then he also throws the deep ball exceptionally well. And it does help that he's got some really great and talented receivers. But Joe Montana didn't put up the numbers that Drew Brees put up with Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver of all time.
Okay, but hold on. So here's my argument on that, and it's been something that I've been talking about for a long time. Take Drew Brees and Eli Manning. I know this sounds weird already. You put Drew Brees in MetLife Stadium. You put Eli Manning in the Superdome. Who's going to have a better career? Because I'm telling you right now, Drew Brees in the Sean Payton offense that prior to Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram did not have a running back. And when they did have a running back, didn't utilize them.
Don't you dare disrespect Pierre Thomas like that. Don't you dare disrespect Darren Sproles like that. They've always had these ridiculous running backs that just so fit well in the system. I would start a Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles in the same fantasy lineup.
Well, wait,
and they got 20 points for me each.
Pat. They threw the ball. He threw the ball 65 times a game when the average quarterback was only 40.
Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles. Yeah,
Pierre Thomas and Darren Sproles were used as catching receivers.
So
what I'm saying is Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram as a running back tandem where they ran the ball. He never had a running back tandem that actually ran it. He threw the ball 65 times a game in a dome, and you played 12 games a year in either a warm weather city or in a dome. Eli Manning, and this is where I'm saying that Eli Manning would be Drew Brees if you put him in a dome or in warm weather, because he played in cold weather with at times better receivers and better running backs, depending on who you talk to. Drew Brees spent the majority of his career with Marquise Colston, Devery Henderson, and Michael Thomas, and Brandon Cooks for a couple of years.
You just called Eli Manning better than Drew Brees. I hope you know that.
No.
Yeah, you said if you put Drew Brees up against Eli Manning in a Superdome, Eli Manning's going to win. That is what you just said. Pat, can you confirm?
No, I said you flip-flop.
He did say that,
Eli
but I know what Steve's saying. No, Steve's saying that if you put Eli Manning in a dome for 80% of his games throughout his career, he has a better career than or just as good as a career as Drew Brees does. And if you put Drew Brees at MetLife Stadium, Drew Brees does not have the success that he has had in the Superdome. However, I take that with a grain of salt because, Drew Brees is not just a dome quarterback.
Well, yeah.
I think that's – but I
Super
see
Bowl
your
in
point
the pouring rain.
Yeah, I'm watching it right now, man, and they're about to come back. They just got the onside kick. I wonder what's going to happen next. Hopefully Tracy Porter does something.
Peyton Manning in the pouring rain.
Yeah, I have a real issue with people with Eli Manning stands because Eli Manning, if you look at his numbers, he threw just as many interceptions as Brett Favre, and he has a record of 119 and 119. I understand where you're coming from, Steve, and I agree with you to an extent, but
I'm not saying Eli's better. I'm saying
you're saying that he would have a better overall record.
I think
you say the same thing true with Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't play in a cold in Foxborough. He plays
if Tom Brady played in a dome for 80% of his games, Tom Brady would never lose ever again.
Ever.
But
that's not even that's not a Patriot. That's just like, if you play in a dome, it's so easy. There's no factors of wind. There's no cold. There's no nothing. It's literally the same temperature. It's the same field. Yeah. Nothing's getting beat up or whatnot. It's literally just like a kind of a cheat code. Why do you think Tom Brady wanted to go to Tampa to end his career?
Absolutely.
If Tampa played in a dome, it'd literally be even more of a win-win. He probably would have signed there 2 years ago.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that anybody would be better or worse because Drew Brees would obviously have had the better career anyways. My whole thing is that Eli Manning played his whole career in the South. He went to Ole Miss, and then he had to go up to the cold and deal with it. Again, I get it. Drew Brees won a Super Bowl in the pouring rain, but the whole point is that Drew Brees would still be a great quarterback. I just don't know if he would be the top 3 quarterback of all time had you put him in MetLife Stadium for his whole career.
Well,
Again,
Yeah, you're right. Peyton Manning would have been.
Yeah, it's all hypotheticals.
And then Brees is 4. So, I mean, it's like, they're the same quarterback, essentially. Drew Brees people forget, Drew Brees played in San Diego.
Yeah.
He played in the warm weather.
But it didn't really work because the system didn't really work well.
Yeah, because they got rid of him so that they could draft, guess who? Eli Manning.
All right, we didn't draft OBJ just to trade him. So
again, it's all hypotheticals. I hate talking hypotheticals, but it's been a debate that I've had in my head.
I love it. Give me all hypotheticals.
We are resorting to this level of just pure idiosyncrasy because we are this PO'd that we don't have sports right now. But guys, we have to get going. My computer's
I'm about to go play some sports right now. So
my computer
play my Madden game.
My computer is about to die, so we got to wrap up the episode. We've been talking for like an hour and a half. Not a bad thing. It's just that, let's let the people go and listen to some of the new DaBaby album instead of listening to us ramble about sports.
Wiz Khalifa had a great album too. Listen to that. What?
What do you think about the new DaBaby album?
I think it's all right.
Didn't Lil Uzi drop today?
Lil Uzi dropped like weeks ago.
Yeah, but he tweeted something on like Thursday that was like Monday, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's dropping another album."
I don't know. All I know is that I have to go upstairs and play some week off, so I'm gonna bounce.
Fact. I've been kicking my
I gotta go play my Madden game. Eugene Krabs. Look, it's year 2028.
Make sure you guys go follow us on Twitter at Mac and Maine. Go like us on Facebook. Go find us on YouTube. This video will be posted on YouTube on Tuesday, a day late, so that we can get all of our production off. Pat, go ahead. Plug your social, man.
Yo, so everyone, little announcements from me. Follow me at Pat_Pitts for everything NFL. If you want to talk sports, please, I need it in my life. And go follow at 4th and Goal USP, number 4, TH and Goal USP. We will be live on Thursday. We're doing a draft live stream with all our crew. From Philly to Boston, and we're going to be giving you our live reactions on Twitch. So go follow our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/undergroundsportsphi. And then also follow it just because if you want to watch sports, I got nothing else to do but play them in my basement. So that's exactly what I'll do right now. And then I'll also follow 4th and Goal USP on Instagram as well. We got stuff posted from our shows, our draft top 10s. And then we're also on Facebook as well because we also want to hit that parent market. All our parents are on Facebook, so why don't we cater to the senior citizens as well? So we are there. We're everywhere. So catch us.
That's it, guys. Make sure you guys go follow all of the social medias for anything related to sports. For Jack Maine, Steve McAvoy, Pat Pitts, everybody stay safe and stay healthy. We will be back with another episode next Monday. So long.
Live, love, week off.